Daimon Blades. Much like its predecessor, Divine Cybermancy is cryptic and kinda janky. So if you've got no idea what's going on, don't worry, I've been there too. Hey folks, I'm Ash, and today I want to share 13 things I wish I knew before I first started. So you can skip the whole trial and error phase and just focus on having fun. So without wasting any more time, let us begin. Once you first launch Daimon Blades, you'll be greeted with a character selection screen full of text and no real explanations. The good news is, there is no wrong choice. Choose whatever character looks coolest and then grab whatever weapon catches your eye. All characters are identical and your progress is account-wide, so you can freely swap around. As for the weapons, you'll unlock loads of them by just playing the game. So at worst, you'll be stuck with your starter gear for about 30 minutes, which in the grand scheme of things really is nothing. At the end of each level, you'll be presented with either a new weapon or free upgrade stations that will power up your character for the duration of that run. Since the game doesn't really explain what they do, here's a brief rundown. The Black Obelisk of Power boosts your weapons. The Venerable Daemon Heart, the spooky reliquary looking thing, gives you 30 max health. The Alchemist's Corpse, which looks exactly like it sounds, grants you spells. The White Ritual Obelisk gives you extra healing potions and healing related buffs. The Blue Transcendental Obelisk powers up your ranged projectiles. The Metal Chest gives you new trinkets, weapons or resources, but nothing for the duration of this run. Personally, I'd recommend using the Alchemist's Corpse once to grab a spell and then focusing primarily on Daemon Hearts for survivability and Obelisks of Power to beef up your damage. Unlike most roguelikes, defenses in Daimon Blades actually matter, even on the lower difficulties. A lot of enemies will either one-shot you or leave you so crippled a stiff breeze might just finish the job. And since you get the best rewards if you actually finish a run, give yourself the best shot at victory by prioritizing survivability. It's not flashy, I know, but it is easily the most important thing you can do. Well, unless you like seeing just how cool your character looks while he's sprawled on the floor. Every time you die, your corruption meter will go up. Once it hits 100, your run will automatically fail and you'll lose most of your loot. So keep a close eye on it and reduce it whenever possible. You can lower your corruption by chopping up the giant eyeballs scattered throughout the levels, or by visiting the sanctuary map that sometimes appears in the level selection. And if you find sacrifices pinned to the walls, don't accidentally or even intentionally kill them. They increase your corruption in exchange for a full heal, a trade that is almost never worth it since healing potions replenish fairly quickly. Both you and your enemies deal a lot of damage, so the key to survival is constant movement. Even if the mission objective forces you to hold a position, try circling around it to give yourself some much needed breathing room. When attacking, dive in, do some damage, then dive out. As long as you manage your stamina, and more on this in a second, this tactic will keep you standing through most fights, even on the hardest difficulty. Heavy attacks, dodges, and blocks all use stamina, which makes it one of the most important resources for staying alive. So do your best to never let it hit zero. Always keep a little bit in reserve so you can dodge away from a potentially deadly hit. And if you do run out or just find yourself surrounded, don't be a hero. Use your grappling hook and just get out. You really do not want to fight while you're vulnerable. You can parry both melee and ranged enemies by blocking at the right time. Parrying melee enemies, however, is a lot riskier than dodging and, in all honesty, very rarely worth the trouble. Parrying ranged attacks, on the other hand, is awesome. The timing window is very generous, so with a bit of practice, you'll be able to make those annoying imps explode themselves with their own fireballs. And best of all, you can even parry bosses. So if you're not sure how to handle a big attack, some combination of dodging and parrying is almost certainly the answer. Elite enemies and bosses have a chance to drop little glowing pyramids that give you massive buffs for that run, but they are unfortunately very easy to miss. So after killing a boss or a tough elite, always do a quick sweep of the area to see if they've left anything behind. The same goes for the sanctuary locations. They always give you a stash of goodies, but those items tend to blend really well into the environment, so do make sure to take a moment to look around and find them before moving on. While the multiplayer can be a bit laggy, it is still a great way to get comfortable with the game's mechanics. Having other players around will take some weight off your shoulders, and the increased enemy counts will give you much more frequent fights to practice with. So if you're having a rough time solo, definitely give co-op a try. It really does help. Well, as long as you don't join someone on the other end of the planet anyway. Once you're comfortable with the mechanics and have a few upgrades under your belt, don't be afraid to push into the higher difficulties. The jump between the tiers really isn't that dramatic, and the increased challenge level can make the game a lot more engaging. Plus, once you reach B or S difficulties, you'll start finding legendary weapons, which then makes the climb even easier. So it is definitely worth diving in, because even if you cannot finish the entire run, you'll still leave with quite a few goodies, and maybe even some bragging rights. Once you start playing on the higher difficulties, it is incredibly important to keep your health topped up. Even if you're only missing 20%, it is still worth using a potion to get back to full. Combine that with health boosting upgrades whenever you can, and you'll avoid a good chunk of the random one-shots. And don't stress about wasting potions. They replenish very quickly once you start slicing and dicing. As you explore each level, you'll find red orbs that are used to upgrade your weapons. But there is a catch. These upgrades are locked to that exact weapon, and not the weapon type, that specific blade. So before you sink your orbs into a weapon, make sure it is one you actually like using. That said, don't overthink it and don't hoard your orbs forever. Just upgrade your favorite toys and then use those to gather even more materials. Blue orbs are used for permanent account-wide upgrades, which come in two flavors. Basic stats, which are available from the very start, and books that give you unique passive effects, but you have to find them in the world. Books are entirely random, so there really isn't much you can do with them besides making sure you unlock them every time you find them. As for the stat upgrades, focus on strength and endurance. They power up to two things that matter the most: damage and health. Because let's be real, who needs brains when you can hit people with a giant sword? And there you have it, 13 tips that will hopefully make your first dive into Daimon Blades just a little bit less hellish. If you have any questions about the game or the guide itself, drop them in the comments. I'll do my very best to help out. Thank you for watching. If you found this helpful, consider leaving a like or subscribing, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye bye!